Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Recording in progress.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Shrimad Bhagavatam class from Canto 3, the status quo. Chapter 1, questions by Vidura, and this morning is text 39. We're actually waiting on Temple President of ISKCON Philadelphia, who is to give a class. He knows about it, but sometimes in the morning he runs a little late because he's juggling a number of things. So I'll start chanting the Jairad Madhava, and when he joins in, then we'll go on. Hare Krishna.
Can I interrupt for a quick second?
Yeah.
I apologize. Please accept my humble obeisances. All go to Srila Prabhupada. We are going to be sending a message out, but we just got news that His Grace Kratu Prabhu left his body in Vrindavan today. So we would like to, pray for of course, we know that he has gone back to Goloka Vrindavan, no doubt about it. But we would like to pray to the Lord to take care of the devotees, his disciples, and Kratu Prabhu's journey back to Prabhupada's arms and back to the lotus feet of the Lord in Goloka Vrindavan. But it's, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when a Vaishnava leaves, it's a glorious event. But at the same time, we want to pray for his disciples and for the devotees around the world, but just wanted to share that news, and we will post a message out shortly. So if every one of us can dedicate this class to Kratu Prabhu, that would be very, very nice. And you could let Dronacarya know that too, if possible. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Drona Prabhu, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Anastasia was just announcing that one of our spiritual masters, ISKCON, his Grace Kratu Prabhu, has left the body in Vrindavan. So this is the news now, and we have to obviously intensify our prayers for himself in his journey back to Srila Prabhupada's arms, as well as the welfare of his disciples. And we got a couple here, actually a married couple here, in this. Oh yeah, so yeah, ISKCON Harrisburg, who are his disciples. Okay, so we made that announcement. So please go ahead, Hare Krishna. It's all yours.
It's dear Krishna Prabhu, right, and his wife.
Yes, yeah, and Tungavidya. Yeah,
we have a few here in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to make sure to call them. I wrote to them last week when I knew things weren't going well.
Okay, so you can start Jairad Madhava.
Should I chant Jairada Madhava?
Yeah.
Or chant maybe at the end we can chant Jayanilo Premadana.
Yeah, and I'll pull it up.
If appropriate, okay.
Whenever you're ready, I'll just pull it up.
Okay.
So the devotees can follow.
Sure. We'll stop a little bit early. Maybe we can say a few words of glorification. I have a couple interactions with His Grace Kratu Prabhu I can share. short, but I can share that. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Shotatara Shishi Madhis Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Shotatara Shishi Madhis Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai Natakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki
Jai
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki
Jai
Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki
Jai
Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki
Jai
Jamuna Maya Ganga Maya Ki
Jai
Jamuna Maya Ki
Jai
Bhakti Devi Ki
Jai
Tulsi Devi Ki
Jai
Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki
Jai
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki
Jai
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki
Jai
Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Haribo
All gloriously assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All gloriously assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All gloriously assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All glories to the lotus feet of Shishi Guru and Sri Gauranga. His Grace Kratu Prabhu Ki
Jai
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shritatmane Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraje. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki. Hare Krishna, Harrisburg devotees. I'm very happy to be with you here on this Monday morning, the beginning of June. We're continuing our study of the first chapter of the third canto, questions by Vidura. We're on text number 39. Yamāv utasvit tanayau pṛthāyāḥ pārthair vṛtau pakṣmabhir akṣiṇīva remāta uddāya mṛdhe sva-rikthaṁ parāt suparṇāv iva vajri-vaktrāt yamāv utasvit tanayau pṛthāyāḥ pṛthāyāḥ vṛtau pakṣmabhir akṣiṇīva remāta uddāya mṛdhe sva-rikthaṁ parāt suparṇāv iva vajri-vaktrāt yamāv utasvit tanayau pṛthāyāḥ pārthair vṛtau pakṣmabhir akṣiṇīva remāta uddāya mṛdhe sva-rikthaṁ parāt suparṇāv iva vajri-vaktrāt. Please chant.
Yamāv utasvit tanayau pṛthāyāḥ pārthair vṛtau pakṣmabhir akṣiṇīva remāta uddāya mṛdhe sva-rikthaṁ parāt suparṇāv vajri-vaktrāt. Hare Krishna.
yamāv utasvit tanayau pṛthāyāḥ pārthair vṛtau pakṣmabhir akṣiṇīva remāta uddāya mṛdhe sva-rikthaṁ parāt suparṇāv iva vajri-vaktrāt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yama utsave tanayau pṛthāyāḥ pārthair vṛtau pakṣmabhir akṣiṇīva remāta uddāya mṛdhe sva-rikthaṁ parāt suparṇāv iva vajri-vaktrāt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Let's look at the synonyms. Yamo, twins, Nakula and Sahadev. Utasvit, weather. Tanayau, sons. Pṛthāyāḥ, O Pṛthā. Pārthahe, the sons of Pṛthā. Vṛtau, protected. Pakṣmabhir, by the shields. Akṣiṇīva, of the eyes. Eva, like. Remāta, remāta, playing carelessly. Uddāya, snatching. Mṛdhe, in the fighting. Sva-rikthaṁ, own property. Parāt, from the enemy Duryodhana. Suparṇāv, Garuḍa, the carrier of Lord Vishnu. Eva, like. Vajri-vaktrāt, from the mouth of Indra. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Are the twin brothers who are protected by their brothers doing well? Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pṛthā, who snatched back the rightful kingdom from the hands of their enemy Duryodhana. Just as Garuḍa snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. Purport. Indra, the king of heaven, carries a thunderbolt in his hand and is very strong. Yet Garuḍa, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, was able to snatch nectar from his mouth. Similarly, Duryodhana was as strong as the king of heaven, and still the sons of Pṛthā, the Pandavas, were able to snatch away their kingdom from Duryodhana. Both Garuḍa and the Parthas are pet devotees of the Lord, and thus it is possible for them to face such strong enemies. Vidura's inquiry was about the youngest brothers of the Pandavas, namely Nakula and Sahadev. These twin brothers were sons of Madri, the stepmother of the Pandavas. But although they were stepbrothers, because Kunti took charge of them after the departure of Madri and her husband Maharaj Pandu, Nakula and Sahadev were as good as the other three Pandavas, namely Yudhisthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. The five brothers are known in this world as regular brothers. The three elder Pandavas took care of the younger brothers, just as eyelids take care of the eye. Vidura was anxious to know whether, after winning back their own kingdom from the hands of Duryodhana, the younger brothers were still living happily under the care of the elder brothers. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Agyanatamarandasya Agyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation. Are the twin brothers who are protected by their brothers doing well? Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pṛthā, who snatched back their rightful kingdom from the hands of their enemy Duryodhana. Just as Garuḍa snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. This is a continuation of questions that are being asked by Vidura to Uddhava. Vidura went on a pilgrimage. He needed to get away from the situation that was taking place in Hastinapur, all the conflict, all the hostility. He, of course, tried to mediate and mitigate the situation. Neither were being done successfully. So he took the pathway to remove himself from the situation. And this is also recommended, that if you can't, remediate the situation that's currently in, especially if it's very hostile, affecting one's consciousness, affecting one's livelihood, affecting one's sanity, that if you can't remediate the situation, that to simply just remove yourself from the situation, whether permanently or for an indefinite period of time. This is actually recommended in the Shastra. So he did the right thing, and he took advantage of the time by going on pilgrimage, in which he learned and studied under many saintly people, Uddhava and Maitreya Rishi being two of the prominent ones which are mentioned here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the course of this conversation, he wanted to hear from Uddhava, who's a very dear devotee of Lord Krishna. He was curious and wanted to understand the welfare of what was going on back home. So this is a very natural question. And he's asking about the different great personalities, how they're doing, are they keeping well? So this is just part. So here he's asking about the Pandavas, namely the youngest Pandavas, Nakula and Sahadev, who were twins. We'll get to that in a moment. I wanted to touch first on this reference given to Garuḍa. So the reference here is that the Srila Prabhupada starts off the purport about Indra, the king of heaven, carries a thunderbolt in his hand and is very strong. Yet Garuḍa, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, was able to snatch the nectar from his mouth. In the same way that the Pandavas prevailed and were able to take away their kingdom. It was their kingdom. Duryodhana, along with his brothers, under the enablement of Dhritarashtra, they took the land away, and at least to the point where they weren't even willing to share it with the Pandavas. So Vidura is comparing this to the same way that Garuḍa was able to take the nectar from Indra. Of course, the king of the heavens, very powerful demigod. So I looked up this pastime and wanted to understand. Garuḍa, who is Lord Vishnu's carrier, he was actually born of the sage Kashyapa Muni and his wife Vinata. A lot of these celestial births go beyond our human conception of how things are actually arranged. We would never see among the human form of life. In fact, one species can't give birth to another species. That's what one of the definitions, the scientific definition of a species, that they are able to produce offspring. But there were a group of sages that gave the fruit of their penance to the sage Kashyapa, and then he thus turned it over to his wife Vinata. As a result of this, observing the fruit of their sacrifice, an egg was actually born of Vinata, and that from that egg came Garuḍa, and Garuḍa was always grew to be a very powerful bird, like an eagle, beautiful eagle. One time, Garuda's mother Vinata, she was there was some instance we were finding is that there's always some trouble. Even it's not just in Kali Yuga. It's just that in Kali Yuga things are so much more prominent. It is every day, all time, and whenever we get a break from it, we feel relief. It may not have been as prominent in other eras, other yugas. However, there's still trouble that was made by people. You still had Adhyatmic, Adhidaivic, and Adhibodhic. So Garuda's mother, Vinata, she actually became enslaved by Kadru, who was Garuda's stepmother, another wife of Kashyapa. Vinata lost a wager to Kadru through deceit. Now we can see the parallels, actually. As I was reading this, I could see the parallels with the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And this, there's some type of wager between the two co-wives, and through deceitful measures, Vinata, Garuda's mother, lost. And as a ransom, she asked for Amrita from the heavenly planets, from Lord Indra's home. And this was immortal nectar. Kadru asked for this. When Garuda had understood what was being asked for his mom's release, he flew up to Indra's capital, named Amrivati, in search of this immortal nectar. Indra's armies, immediately tried to attack Garuda, but he actually defeated all of them. This is no small thing. It's not like, he defeated some earthly beings. These were heavenly soldiers, trained in so many arts, military arts, that we couldn't even understand here on earth. But he defeated all of them. And even though force after force tried to stop him, he was so determined, and with his large wings and beak and claws, was able just to move right through the armies. Eventually he arrived at the well that was holding this nectar. He was able to retrieve it, and he brought it back, and his mother was able to be released. Now, interestingly, this was before he became Lord Vishnu's carrier. Lord Vishnu had took notice of the proceedings and was very impressed by Garuda's determination, strength, but also honesty. Although Garuda had in his possession this Amrita Keli, this immortal nectar, he did not once drink it himself. He simply carried it back as he said he was going to do. He approached Garuda and asked him to please be my carrier. Now, interestingly enough, even though Garuda did not retrieve or drink this nectar for himself, and he could have just taken it, flown away, and he could have certainly defeated this co-wife if he was able to storm through the regions of Lord Indra. He could have certainly taken care of this Kadru with no problem. But he handled it in, I guess, a civilized way, and he brought the nectar for ransom. As a result, Lord Vishnu actually granted Garuda immortality, even without drinking the immortal nectar. And I felt at this point, I felt that there's a message in this for us, that sometimes we try to enjoy sometimes the opportunity to enjoy the fruits of our service is there. And the temptation may be there to enjoy certain fruits of our service. It may be a position, it may be recognition, it may be opportunity to do something prominent. And the lesson here is that we should always offer the fruit of that service to Lord Krishna. When we try to enjoy it, we actually very rarely get what we're looking for. But for those who aren't actually looking for it, they actually usually wind up getting it, granted by the Supreme Lord. It's an interesting spiritual dynamic. And this is something that we can apply. A person who is very eager, overambitious, maybe filled with self-interest, and they take advantage of a situation in order to maybe promote themselves in some way. Very rarely does that work out, and if it does work out, it's very short-lived. It doesn't have any longevity. But a simple devotee who is simply just happy to serve the Lord, he's not necessarily interested in title or recognition, opportunity, advancement, at least organizationally or materially. Simply just wants to serve the Lord and his devotees. Actually, those opportunities fall upon him. They chase after that person, him or her, because that's one of the qualifications. We do it for Krishna's pleasure, for the spiritual master's mission. And Garuḍa, interestingly enough, even without trying to enjoy the immortal nectar, the fruits of his work, which he retrieved through his own spiritual strength, or through his own strength, he didn't try to enjoy it for himself. As a result, Lord Vishnu, impressed with his honesty, granted him the result of that amrita which he had retrieved. Now, going back to the Pandavas, Queen Kunti's 3 children, Yudhisthira, Bhima, and Arjuna, are oftentimes talked about in great detail. Nakula and Sahadev are always there, because there's always talking about the 5 Pandavas. But they're often, there's not a whole lot of pastimes that are usually shared about them. And I find this to be, in reading this and reading the purport, understanding who these great personalities are, and then also how they were treated by Queen Kunti as well as her sons, speaks a lot about the exalted nature of Queen Kunti as well as the Pandavas. I'm sure it may have been talked about earlier about the Pandavas. Many of you know, I'll just briefly tell the story, the backstory, how Kunti was married to Pandu, and Pandu also had another wife named Madri. Madri's father was the king of Madra. So a lot of times these kings, they also married to other regions in order to build alliances. So they intermarried within other royalty. to form bonds which would help support, economies as well as protection in times of difficulty. So Madri was the second wife. Kunti was the first. And Pandu, he had gotten a curse that he actually could not engage in any types of procreation. He had actually was on a hunting expedition. And kings are allowed to hunt, at least especially back then, because they were protectors, and they used hunting as a way of sport in order to sharpen practice, because if the need ever arose, you had to be prepared. Part of that preparation is actually practicing your art and technique, especially in terms of military arts. So they had to practice, but it was done in a very honorable way. Pandu, one time he saw this deer. He shot the deer, but the deer was actually engaged in intimacy with another deer. And upon shooting it, the deer actually revealed that they were actually two sages that had taken the forms of deer temporarily in order to engage in some enjoyment in that way. And they chastised Pandu and said, "Don't you know that this is improper? That when we were engaged in this level of activity, you should not have shot us." And as a result, they cursed him that he would never be able to procreate. So this was devastating to Pandu. Of course, being a king, he has to build a dynasty. He has to have a legacy, and that legacy is your children, and in that particular age, your sons, who would be future rulers. And knowing that was not going to happen, he was very distraught. And that is when Queen Kunti revealed to him that, actually, I never told you this, but I had a benediction at one point that was given to me by Durvasa Muni, who was very pleased by the service that I provided for him. And that benediction was that I could chant a particular mantra that he gave me. It would call a demigod, and I could actually bring a child into this world through that particular demigod. And the first one actually was Karna, that she brought in. This is when she was young. She chested the mantra. And that's a whole other story, but Karna had been sent away. So Pandu and Kunti had agreed to try this. And first, Kunti called Yamaraj, and they had their child Yudhisthira. Next was Bhima, in which Kunti had called Vayu, the Lord of the winds. And then next was Indra, who again appears here in this verse. And they called Indra and had Arjuna. So that was the three. And the next, at that time, Madri was feeling very despondent. She was very sad. And she realized that she was being treated equally. It was just the circumstances. And she had desired a son. Now, Dhritarashtra, who was Pandu's son, him and his wife Gandhari recently had 100 children. that's another story into itself from the Mahabharata of how you have 100 children. But around her, she was noticing that children were, her peers, Kunti and Gandhari, they were all having children, and she was childless. So she was feeling this desire. She posed that desire to Pandu. Is there any way in which that mantra could be shared to me, in which I could call upon a son? So Pandu went to Kunti and made the case. You could just see how dharmic they were. To make a long story short, Kunti had instructed Madri on how to chant the mantra, and the demigod that you think of at that time will appear. Madri, now a couple different, in the end, I don't know if it really matters so much, but Madri had felt that, she may not get this again. So to have one son, obviously could be very difficult, because if the one son happens to die untimely, you need another son. And we could see this with Vichitravirya and Chitraketu. So not too long ago in their own lineage, did two sons actually, they had died. So she wanted more than one son, and she called on the Ashwini Kumaras. And these were twin demigods. Now these demigods are actually demigods that were known specifically for healing and rejuvenation, medicine, health, Ayurvedas. So she had twins. So two twins were born from them, Nakula and Sahadev. Now she was pleased that she had, two children. Now, at one point, it was a spring day. Pandu was walking around with Madri out in the forest, and he became overwhelmed with feelings of wanting to enjoy with her, and he couldn't. Sometimes in moments, and this is how powerful the sexual energy is that sometimes you lose your discretion, lose your whereabouts, you forget about the consequences, and as a result, the curse that came from those sages, that if he tried to procreate, he would actually die immediately. And that's what happened to Pandu. Now Pandu, at the time of cremation, Madri, feeling both responsible and also at a loss for her husband, she actually entered into the fire as well, leaving her two sons, Nakula and Sahadev, under the care of Queen Kunti. And it also left Queen Kunti husbandless, and then put her under the care of her husband's older brother, who was Dhritarashtra. Queen Kunti took care and nourished Nakula and Sahadev just as it was her own child. Srila Prabhupada mentions this in the purport, even though they were stepchildren and she was the stepmother. She actually took charge of them as if they were her own children. So they are known as regular brothers, not necessarily just stepbrothers. In this time, in this age, this is very uncommon. It's not uncommon to have stepchildren, but to treat the stepchildren like they're your own children, and not give special favor to your own children, or have the stepchildren amongst themselves not fight over, this is my real mom, this is your stepmom, but she's my real mom, or to create some type of barrier. Instead, it says they took care of them as if the eyes take care of the eyelids. In other words, it's inseparable. You can't have an eye without an eyelid. You can't have an eyelid without an eye. The eyelid is there to protect the eye. And the three elder brothers, Yudhisthira, Bhima, and Arjuna, they took care of Nakula and Sahadev. This speaks to the exalted nature of Queen Kunti. To have three fatherless children is enough to take on two more. There was no question for her that this was her duty, responsibility, and she did it with love. And Nakula and Sahadev grew up with all the same opportunities and privileges as her three sons, and they went through everything together. They stuck together as a family. They fought when it was time to fight. They fought together as a unit, and when they mourned and suffered, they suffered together as a unit. When they enjoyed together as a unit. And this is just a very rare thing to see in this particular time, to have this level of equanimity, equity, equality, and being non-judgmental, unbiased, is quite commendable. Okay, that's what I have today to share with regards to this verse. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you very much for a wonderful lecture. I really like as you call it, the backstory, how with this case of Garuḍa and what he did, and in the end, how he wound up being the carrier for Lord Vishnu. It was so wonderful to hear that pastime. And of course, he went to also other pastimes involving how, part of it was tragic, obviously, how Pandu lost his life and why he lost his life. And also, the relation of the five Pandavas, even though Nakula and Sahadev were actually not the sons of Kunti. They were not the sons of Kunti. And they're not the sons directly of Maharaj Pandu either. That's all five of them anyway. But still they related so nicely that they were real brothers, like from the same mother and father, like that.
Yeah.
That's the lesson we learned, as you pointed out so nicely. Devotees, you have questions? Please unmute yourself when you have other comments you want to make about this lecture or any other thing you want to talk about related to Krishna. Please unmute yourself and let's relate. And at this time, we already mentioned in the beginning that we've lost one of our wonderful gurus in ISKCON, and that we are going to honor him with the Jayanilo song. So that we'll do later. But first, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, just unmute yourself and go for it. Because right now I'm just looking for the Jayanilo lyrics.
If there's no questions, I would like to share a glorification of His Grace Kratu Prabhu.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I didn't want to just roll from Srimad Bhagavatam into it. I wanted to give at least a break to see if there are any questions on the class or comments or contributions. But if there are none, I'd like to share. He came to Philadelphia with his good wife on a regular basis. Um, every year he would come for many years, except COVID, when a lot of devotees didn't travel. But it was always an inspiration to me as a household couple who dedicated his life to preaching and was able to actually do it. He originally came to America, my understanding from what I can remember him telling me, to get his degree in engineering. I think he was going to grad school in St. Louis. And I'm by profession, that was my training as an engineer as well. So I kind of latched on to that, and I kind of had questions about that, what it was like for him. And at one point, he was in Canada. I forget whether it was Montreal or Toronto. Dear Krishna Prabhu, you can interject. You probably know the details more than I do. But Srila Prabhupada had told him directly that, there's so many engineers in this world, but there aren't very many preachers of Lord Chaitanya's message. What the world really needs right now is preachers. And the next day he went into work and he gave his resignation. He came back and told his wife, we're going to follow Srila Prabhupada. And just like that, they left that world, left that lifestyle, and moved into the temple and served. Now, that is very uncommon, although we do hear devotees do activities like this, especially back around Srila Prabhupada's time. They were so inspired to follow Srila Prabhupada. However, after Srila Prabhupada's departure, their age got a little grew a little bit more. They were in their 30s, mid-30s. They had families, children, and they had to get jobs, responsibility. They kind of entered back into the workforce, into that life, and there's certainly nothing wrong with it. There's many wonderful household couples that are executing Krishna consciousness and preaching. But he remained committed to Srila Prabhupada's instructions for him, and was able to raise a family, and was able to preach tremendously, especially in the area of Gujarat in India, as well as other places, especially here in America. He's made many disciples. But to me, just to think, I know for myself, I don't think I would have been able to do that. And I just had so much admiration for him, that these are devotees that they sacrificed everything. There's a level of sacrifice that I honestly feel of that particular generation that we don't fully have appreciation for in this generation. The magnitude of it, as well as the duration of it. It's not that it doesn't exist today. There are many wonderful devotees. I know Prabhu, you and Mother Anasuya, you guys went to Gita Nagari on Gurudev's desire and basically dropped everything. But in general, this level of sacrifice that's seen by these great devotees, such as Kratu Prabhu and his wife, to just trust in Srila Prabhupada's movement, and that Krishna will provide. There's so much to be admired in that commitment. Last time he was here in Philadelphia, it was last summer. It was in June, early July, and he was just very encouraging, extremely encouraging. I went to give him a donation as he was leaving, and he said to me that on principle, I don't take any money from a temple. He says, I should actually be giving money. I should be raising money and giving money to temples. How can I sit here and take money from a temple? He says, this money belongs to Krishna. I'm a servant of Krishna. And that really touched my heart. This is not in any way a judgment of any devotee that receives donations, because there are a lot of wonderful preachers, and that's the way they sustain themselves, by the contribution of grihastas from the temples. But just his mentality, to think that way. And that, he said, please, I don't take it. In principle, I don't take money from the temple. But then he coupled that with, a feeling of somewhat remorse that I should actually be raising money for this temple, not actually, I should be giving money to you, not to me personally, but to the temple, and not, the feeling shouldn't be, you should be giving me money, Lakshmi. Anyway, I wanted to share those two things about this great soul. And my sincere condolences, dear Krishna Prabhu, to you, your family, and your community, and Parikshit Prabhu and Anasuya Mataji, can certainly guide you through this, difficult time. And we're here for you as a community. All glories to Kratu Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And dear Krishna Prabhu actually left something in the chat related to the lecture, and I didn't catch it at first, but so I'll just read it quickly and then we'll go to the Jayanila. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for bringing up Amita Keli in your class. That is the name of our Guru Ma. That is Kratu Prabhu's wife. She's called Amita Keli Devidasi. So that's her name. So he made that connection and he left that here in the text. So with that.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reminding us of the wonderful qualities of our spiritual masters. And just addition to when you were glorifying, he not only resigned when he came back home that day after Srila Prabhupada's instruction to just preach, he also tore apart all his degrees and threw them out of the window so that he doesn't have to, if ever he has to change his mind, that's not an option. So that is one thing. And thank you, Prabhu, for reminding us of Guru Maharaj. And thank you, Anasi Mataji, for calling me this morning for a long, comforting call, as always. And we know all the whole ISKCON community, all our spiritual masters. I have seen so many spiritual masters leaving, and then all the disciples getting support from other spiritual masters, which are not other, actually the same. So we know we are in a very good society, wonderful support system, and so much is going on in Vrindavan Dham. Lot of Guru Maharaj, God brothers, they are coming, visiting him, and Guru Ma and everybody. So thank you again.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let me just share now. So to pull up the words for the Krishna. Here we go. Share. Yeah.
Parikshit Prabhu, can you lead us in this chanting?
Okay. I'm actually in my studio now. I was thinking of pulling up a keyboard and just playing. And I know if you give me a minute, because I'm actually almost set up. So, but if I find I'm wasting too much time, then I'll forget the idea. But I'll try to see if I can.
Actually, what happens is if you play a keyboard and sing, we won't hear anything because Zoom doesn't do both.
I think it's possible to do it. Only because I set up my computer. It is possible. Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I'll just turn it on, which I have, and play and say, can you hear? And if you say yes, then I will play with it. And if it's not, then the answer is no. So, yeah. Do you hear it?
What I'm saying is we will hear the keyboard, but when you sing and play, then we don't hear. You're
Okay.
not getting my point. So it's like if you sing and play, it's like almost like chanting with kartals. We don't hear the kartal in you.
All right.
So that's the thing.
So
We
I'll
have to hear
sing.
you sing. Yeah, you have to hear you sing.
Okay. Did you hear the keyboard though?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay. If you hear the keyboard, then you can hear. Because I'm just gonna access a nice simple sound, not keyboard, but just like a harmonium type sound, you know, like that, if you don't mind.
We can try it and see how it sounds. We'll let you know if we can't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just want to honor God nicely. That's why I'm going through all of that. I could easily just start singing and forget about those, but it's nice. 04, 9. Okay. So my question, do you hear that?
Yes.
You do. Okay. All right. Then we'll start. Anilo premadana karuna prachu Ilo premadana karuna prachu Hino Prabhu Kota Kila Acharya Thakur Hino Prabhu Kota Kila Acharya Thakur Kahamura Swarupupa Kahasanatan Kahamura Swarupa Kahasanatan Ahadasaragu Nata Patita Pavan Kahamora Bata Yuga Kaha Kavira Kahamora Bata Yuga Kaha Kavira Eka Kale Kota Kela Goranatara Eka Kale Kota Kela Goranatara We move this up. Okay. Good. Pasane kutibo mata anale pasivo pashane kutivo pata anale pasivo Uranga Gulera Niti Kota Gere Pabo Uranga Gulera Niti Kota Gere Pabo Shisaba Sangi Asangi Je koi lo bila Shisaba Sangi Asangi Je koi lo bila Isangana Paya Kane Naruta Moda Isanga Paya Kane Naruta Moda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Haribo, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai Gora, Haribo, Nitai Gora, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora, Haribo. Shriman Kratu Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. All right, so dear devotees, thank you for coming on this morning. Thank you, Duryodhana, for giving such a wonderful class. Thank you, all devotees. And it is all right to grieve when the spiritual master leaves. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj left, that's the spiritual master for Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada cried like a baby. We miss our gurus. We're going to spiritual world true enough, but we miss their association here, and that is the reason we grieve. So grieving is all right. Don't try to keep it in. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you again, all the devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.